Okay, today is tomorrow and the glue is dry, so we'll go ahead and pull them out of the clamps. So, see these brown marks here? That's left over because there's moisture in the glue, and then the clamps have metal, so they rust and leave those weird marks. To prevent that, I could have put some paper towels between the clamps and the wood, or wax paper or something like that. In this case I didn't, because I knew we had an inch thick here and we were going to plane it down to 3/4, so we have a 1/4 inch to play with there, so I'll plane those off. But we're left with these little bumps of glue we got to get off. So to do that, we're gonna take our board here and clamp our board down to a table, and we're gonna use the scraper to scrape some of that glue off. And this is really important to wear safety glasses, because those little glue scrapings can get everywhere. So you're gonna hear them come off and then just kind of fly across. So it's really important to have glasses in. So I'll finish up that and then we'll move on to the next step. So we got the majority of the glue scraped off. Now we have to run through the planer to kind of get this to be nice and even and smooth. To do that, and that's why I kept this 2 long pieces here, because it's going to help go through the planer a little bit easier. Same thing, you want to set the thickness of the wood for the depth of the cut. So that means we're at 1 inch thick here. And we want to set our piece of metal that we talked about earlier for 1 inch. So we're going to roll this wheel. We're going to roll that wheel down so that the gap between high-tech editing. Here we go. So the gap between this piece of metal and that line right there, at the end of the ruler, is 1 inch. All right, I'll get the dust collector on and we'll plane this board down to 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so what happened, or what's going on here, is this board here is a little bit thicker than 3/4 of an inch. If I had to guess, I'd say 7/8. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's 7/8, which is good. I don't mind at all if your board is thicker than 3/4, but when you get under 3/4, that's when it gets a little bit weird looking. So it's 7/8, which is fine. And but again, the important thing here is we don't have any low spots in the board, so it's all nice and flat there, and we're ready to cut this thing to size. So to do that, let's meander over to the chop saw. And this is where I'm going to do this for you because it's a little bit funky. We're going to identify the flat edge, which is right here. If it's not flat, just go over the joiner and joint an edge to make sure it's flat. This one happens to be flat from when I glued it up. So what I'm going to do is cut it on the chop saw for you. Again, this is for Stevens to cut, not for you to cut. So make sure that I do this and you don't do this. So square one end up. I have a little mark here that tells me that it's 14 inches. So that was a rip cut on a chop saw. That's why I don't want you to do that. Could you use a table saw? Yeah, you can use a table saw. But with a square piece, you're putting the short side against the board. There are fixtures and jigs you can set up on the table saw to make that cut better. However, because I have 24 students at a time, it's just faster for me to do this and kind of speeds things up. So get me to do that. And here we have a top 14 by 14 square, and then we'll do the next step, which is going to be to route the top. So I'll pause you. Before we route this thing, I got looking at it and I realized we want to kind of pick out the top and the bottom of the project here. This is the top and this is going to be the bottom. It's got this little thing in it right here, so I'm going to put that toward the bottom of the project. And then this here, let's see if the camera can pick it up. Right there. There's a line that goes right there from the planer. So you see it pick up right there and come along there. If I hold it on an angle like this, will the camera pick that up right here? You can see how this part is a little bit thinner than this part. There's kind of a ramp right here. Right there, it starts to go up. That's called snipe. So the planer comes through, the board comes through, and the planer kind of kicks down a little bit, or the board kicks down, and then the cutter head kind of gouges that part. So before I route that, what I want to do is run this through the big sander over here. And if you're not familiar with the sander by now, make sure to watch the videos and get me before you use it. So I'll go ahead and sand this out. I'll put this in kind of a speed motion and then we'll route it after that. Alright, so now we're smooth And we don't have that snipe anymore, so we can go over to the benches and route this out. All right, you can make the decision if you want both sides routed or one. I'll just do one side. And show you the process here. You should be familiar with what's going on now. So I'm just gonna go through and route that edge. I'll do it off camera. So that's the top right there. I got it all routed out. And I chose to do both sides. I'll do it a little better. Still needs to be